Hi you guys, Renee here. We are up to day 7 of 5 minutes of good in April, and today is Maundy Thursday. Now, I don't know if all of you know what Maundy Thursday is. It's the Thursday leading up to Easter, the Thursday before Good Friday. And some of you will know that Maundy Thursday was basically when Jesus has his Last Supper with his disciples. They're celebrating a Jewish festival called Passover, and they are eating in this top room. They've gone upstairs, they've had this special meal prepared, and they're eating together. And so in some ways there's a celebration element to it, but it's also the Last Supper that Jesus has with his disciples before he goes to his eventual death on the cross. Something else is going on in the background here. Judas is a disciple of Jesus. He's a friend of Jesus. He's been traveling with Jesus for a little while now. He's seen Jesus do miracles. He's listened to Jesus' teaching. He's given up his life to follow Jesus. And yet Judas is about to betray Jesus. He has made the decision that he is going to go behind Jesus' back and hand him over to the Jewish leaders, who by this stage want Jesus dead. Now, he thinks that he's done this all behind Jesus' back, but of course, Jesus is quite aware of what is going on. So Jesus knows, not only is this my Last Supper with my friends, with my disciples, but also one of them is about to send me to the cross. It's a bit of a melancholy day. When we look at the character of Judas, we see a guy who had a choice. He had been with Jesus, as I said, for a little while. He had seen him do all this stuff, and yet he makes a choice to betray Jesus in exchange for a couple of gold coins. It makes me wonder where his motivation came from. But he's not so far removed from me and from you, is he? I mean, if I'm perfectly honest, every day there are choices that I make, big choices and little choices. And I can either make a choice to live consciously of how my choices affect others and affect the world, or I can choose to live selfishly, only thinking about what I really need in that moment. And sometimes I don't make the best choice. We have the choice to be agents of good in the world, or we can choose to roll our eyes and put ourselves first every single time. And there are hundreds of ways that we do this. I know that I do it from time to time. I get impatient, I judge people, I make assumptions about people, I sometimes twist the truth to make myself look better. And we can do this in a macro scale, in ways that can affect our communities and maybe even affect our world. And we can do it in micro ways that we don't really think count. Like, for example, with our spouse, or maybe with our siblings, or maybe even with our parents. And sometimes we get into these habits of destruction. We get into this rut of where we keep making these bad choices, or we keep making, we've got these bad habits, and we get into a mindset that just says we can't really ever change. We were never really meant to be the good guy. We were never really meant to save the world and be the heroes anyway. And sometimes that becomes part of our identity. It certainly did for Judas. But I want to tell you, Jesus believed that we can all be agents of good. He said, the kingdom of God is within you. I'm going to say that again. The kingdom of God is within you. And later, after Jesus died, there's a guy named Paul, and he comes along and he says, we are God's handiwork, created to do good. We were not created for betrayal, or destruction, or for selfishness, or for greed. We were created in the image of God. And that God is a good God who cares about his creation. Even Judas, the guy who betrays the very Son of God, was not made for that. That was not what he was made for. He made a choice, and we have a choice too. And I want to remind you tonight, you are good, you are loving, and you are kind. Thanks for joining me. Bye.